We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Daled Amud Aleph in Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 54a. This is the beginning of the 7th parak of Meseches Nedarim. The Mishnah says, Hanoder min hayerek, if a person takes a neder not to have yerek, not to have vegetable, mutter b'diluin. It is mutter for him to have diluin. It is mutter to have gourd, because the Tana Kama holds diluin are not in the category of yerek. Rabbi Akiva Oser, and Rabbi Akiva says it's forbidden to have diluin. One cannot have gourd because diluin is included within yerek. Amru lo Rabbi Akiva, they said to Rabbi Akiva, V'halo omer adam l'shlucha, but doesn't a person say to his messenger, Kach li yerek, buy from me yerek, v'omer lo matzasi ala diluin, and the shliach will respond, I only found diluin, as if to imply diluin really is not included in the category of yerek. Amar lahem, so Rabbi Akiva responded to them, Kain hadavar, what you're saying is true. Oshema omer hu lo matzasi ala kitnius, but does the person ever respond, I only found kitnius, I only found legumes, meaning you're only going to respond with something. If you say, I only found X, what you're really saying at least is that it is somewhat in that category. No one would respond, lo matzasi ala kitnius, elisha diluin bechlal yerek, rather it's because diluin is at least included in yerek, and that's why the shliach responds, I didn't find yerek, I only found diluin, because diluin is somewhat in that category. The kitnius eino bechlal yerek, but kitnius isn't even bechlal yerek at all, so the person won't even respond and say all I found was kitnius because it has nothing to do with the request whatsoever. And the Mishnah concludes, V'asr b'pol ha-mitzri lach u'mutter biyavesh. A person says a neder not to have yerek, it's forbidden for him to have the Egyptian bean or a cowpea which is moist, but it is mutter to have it if it is dry. And the Mefarish over here explains, Lo matzasi ala kitnius bitmiya. Does the person say, Lo matzasi ala kitnius? Of course not. Kilomar lachi lo kamar le ela diluin. That's the reason why he responds, talking about diluin. Mechlal de diluin minehu velo min kitnius. Because already diluin is included in the species of yerek, but it is not, kitnius is not included within that species. Pol ha-mitzri lach have min yerek. Again, the pol ha-mitzri lach, which is the moist Egyptian bean, the cowpea, that is considered yerek. Umutter biyave shumin dagan. But if it's dry, that's considered dagan, that's considered grain, and not included within yerek. And the Gemara says, Hanoder min hayerek v'chulu. Again, the Mishnah said a person takes a neder not to have yerek, so according to Rabbi Akiva, diluin gourds will also be prohibited. So the Gemara asks, V'ham min yerek nadar, but didn't he make a neder not to have yerek? And certainly diluin should not be included within yerek. Amar Ula, so Ula says, Ba'omer yarke kedera olai. The phrase was, the person said, the vegetables of the kedera of the pot are upon me, and that would include anything that is cooked in a pot, that would include the diluin. But the Gemara says, V'dilma yerek hanechol b'kedera kamar. Maybe what the person is referring to is yerek that is eaten b'kedera. The Mefarish understands that means maybe we're talking about the spices that one adds to the kedera to add flavor. And to that the Gemara says, Ba'omer yerek hamizbashel b'kedera alai. No, what the person said was yerek that is cooked in a kedera. That is upon me. And again, that would refer to the diluin, to the gourds. And the Gemara continues, so what exactly are the Tanakama and Rabbi Akiva arguing about? The Gemara explains, Rabbanon Sabri, the Rabbanon hold, Kol milza detzarach shalicha l'imluchei Allah, anything which a shliach would need to go back to the person who sent him to decide about it, meaning if the shliach is not sure that diluin are included in yerek or not, lav minehu, that is not part of that species. The fact that the shliach is not sure means it is not the same min. Rabbi Akiva Savar, Rabbi Akiva holds, Kol milsa demimlach shlicha Allah. On the contrary, anything that the shliach would come back and consult about it, mineu, that shows that it is the same species, and that's why Rabbi Akiva says it is prohibited. And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya says, Moder Rabbi Akiva inyan malchus she'eno loker. Rabbi Akiva admits when it comes to malchus, if the person has the diluin, he's not going to get malchus, even though it is prohibited to have the diluin, but since it's something that's not clear that it's in the same min, so therefore Rabbi Akiva would say if you did have it, you would not get malchus. And the Mefarish explains, Amai oser Rabbi Akiva hamin yerek. Another, why does Rabbi Akiva say that the diluin is prohibited? Again, the person said yerek, v'diluin lo ikri yerek. Diluin certainly is not called yerek. And the Gemara answered, Yarke Kedera alai, v'diluin bechlal Yarke Kedera hein. Diluin are considered Yarke Kedera, sharim esbashlim b'kedera. They're cooked inside a Kedera. But then the Gemara asks, V'dil mahaydu kamar yarke kedera alai, yerek hanechol b'kedera alai. Maybe it was yerek that is eaten b'kedera, or maybe that's what he meant to say. Could go in shuma muvatzelim, for example, garlic or onion, shein necholim b'kedera, which means shenosanos on b'kedera kadei lita in tam b'tavshil. Again, those are items that are put in the kedera in order to give a a taste to the tavshil. Maybe that's what the person was referring to when he said yarke kedera. And the Gemara says, no, so really the person said, ba'omer yarek hamisbashel b'kedera. The person said, a yarek hamisbashel b'kedera, the diluin namihein misbashelin b'kedera. Diluin are also cooked b'kedera in a pot, v'nosan osan b'shvil tavshil. You put them in as something that you're cooking. Avol shumen nosan osan ela b'shvil tam. But the shumen, the garlic, that you're only putting in there because of the taste. Ulahachi Rabbi Kiva osir. And that's why Rabbi Kiva says that the diluin are going to be osir. And the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there, this is in Meseches Me'ilah, Hashliach she'asa shlichuso, let's say a shliach, he performed the shliach that the Balabayas told him to perform. So Balabayas mal, so then, let's say they committed Me'ilah over here, let's say they misused sacred property, they misused hektish, so it's the Balabayas who commits the Me'ilah, because the shliach just did what the Balabayas told him to do. Lo asa shlichuso, but let's say the shliach didn't do what the Balabayas told him to do, so shliach mal, so it is the shliach who has committed the Me'ilah, not the Balabayas. And the Gemara says, Man Tana, who's the Tana of this Mishnah in Me'ilah? Amar Rav Chisda says, Masnisan deloka Rabbi Akiva. That Mishnah in Me'ilah does not follow Rabbi Akiva in our Mishnah. The Tanan, as we also learned in the Mishnah in Me'ilah, Keitzad Hauso, Amar lo tein basar la'orchim. Let's say the Balabai said to the Shliach, give basar, give meat to the guests. V'nasan lam kaved, and he gives them liver. Or tein kaved, or let's say the Balabai says, give them liver. V'nasan lahem basar, and he gives them basar, he gives them meat. Hashliach mal. In both of these cases, it's the Shliach who commits the Me'ilah because he's not following the instructions of the Balabayas. And so the Gemara now says, V'i Rabbi Akiva. So if you're going to say, again, this is Rav Chisda's argument, if you're going to say that this Mishnah follows Rabbi Akiva, Ha'amar Rabbi Akiva, kol milsa de mimlach alo shliach minehu. The Rabbi Akiva said that anything which the shliach would go back and decide upon and say, maybe this is what the instruction meant, so that is considered the same species. So over here also, the fact that the shliach might think that kaved is included in basar, or basar is included in kaved, so doesn't that show that is the same min? So if that was the case, limol balabayas v'lo limol shliach. It should be according to Rabbi Akiva that the balabayas should have committed the me'ilah and not the shliach. And the Gemara answers, Amar Abaya says, Afilu Temer Rabbi Akiva. You could even say this Mishnah in Me'ilah follows Rabbi Akiva, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Dalid Amud Beis.